can't help believing you. That song's a banger. I only listened to like the first 20 seconds of it every time.
Yeah.
Because then I'm like, okay, I gotta get to the next episode.
Yeah, I had to skip a lot, and I caught a lot of the first intro, but by the time I got to opening 2, I was like skipping a lot, but also I was watching it dubbed as well, so I would have had to go out of my way to listen to the opening themes, because they just replace it with like a different, it's a song from the OST, but like I think there may have just been like a rights issue, or because it was airing on Toonami back in the day, they thought maybe it would be like tonally not what Western audiences were about in the early 2000s, so they just put like a more kind of like, it's the one that's like dun 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 dun, kind of like,
oh
yeah,
the dub I was watching had the,
oh really,
yeah,
huh. Well, mine did not.
I'm guessing when they like later released it physically, they probably changed it back. So,
well, I'd hope so.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, welcome to Screen Weens. This is episode something.
True.
170?
Yeah, 170 something.
110? No.
176 or 7.
179.
Oh.
We are going to be covering Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam today.
Yes.
Which I'm very excited to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love Gundam.
So do I.
I've been really just... Woo! I've been fucking pumped. I'm like, Gundam more.
I just almost said like, oh, the last time we covered Gundam, we covered the fucking Universal Century trilogy, but I forgot we covered...
We just covered MS Igloo.
Yes, MS Igloo.
Yeah. Which was not great, but, you know, I don't think you didn't enjoy them. I thought they were fine. Yes. I haven't found anything I've disliked from Gundam yet so far. But yeah, we watched Zeta Gundam. I was about to say Xeon Gundam. I'm like, not yet. No. And we're going to be talking about that soon. But before that, as always, we're going to talk a little bit about our lives. Don't worry, my foot is still broken. I'm getting a little better with crutches.
Yeah.
Bought knee pads, because I kind of just crawl up the stairs, because like I can go up the crutches, but my right leg isn't great, so I'm like, it's just easier and faster. So I just kind of goblin climb up. And I have the cart, and I've been working, and I just, in general, I'm feeling a lot better emotionally about it, because it was pretty emotionally draining the first, like, week and a half.
Yeah.
I was not having a great time. But I'm also being empowered by all the people that have lived before.
Yes.
Space Ghosts.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam is just Rise of Skywalker, but good.
Actually... Pierre was talking about that with me because he really likes Zeta as well. And he was like, I think Zeta Gundam does. He was saying that he just wishes the sequel trilogy followed like the formula of Zeta more closely. I do think it's very good.
Yes.
Once we get into it, I have a lot of things to talk about with like the ending. Not because I really like the ending, but I think it's also really funny because it's a children's show, or at least marketed as a children's show.
Yeah, like, I guess it technically was to sell toys, so to speak.
And it worked. I mean, Gundam toys are huge.
Yeah, I mean, they were pretty... That's the whole reason why it came back, because the first show was, like, regarded as good, but, like, not... It wasn't popular, and it ended up getting pulled, but reruns and the fucking model kits just sold, so they were like... You gotta design more model kits. We'll give you more budget. We'll allow you creative freedom.
We'll kiss you.
Yeah, just design a lot of fucking Gundams that we can fucking sell toys for. Which, I mean, that was the 80s market. I mean, it was the same over here with Transformers and all the various...
I've been meaning to watch Transformers Victory, I think it's called. That's one of the anime series that they did. And I think, like, the late 80s.
Yeah, I'm not... I never got super into Transformers. I
really liked the movie. Like, I had that on, I think, DVD, and I watched that a lot. But same thing. Like, I had some of the video games, but, like, outside of that, I didn't really... Like, and my cable package, I didn't have, like, most of the Cartoon Network and, like, Nickel... So I couldn't watch it anywhere.
Yeah.
But I always thought they were cool and had toys. I'm like, yes, I do.
Yeah, I had a couple of the toys too. It's one of those properties like along with Power Rangers where it's like I think I'd like this. I just haven't been able to find my way into it yet. But
yeah,
we'll see one day. Maybe. But anyway, Gundam.
Well, not yet. Have you done anything else this week?
No, my life.
I mean,
I watched 50 episodes.
50, yeah. I watched the first 5 last week, but I did mostly watch them all in the last couple days. But that's fine. I was having a blast. Spoiler.
Yeah, I was, doing my typical ADHD thing where it's like I'm trying to get in, like I'm like I have to start the show, but like I push it off because that's just how my brain works. But once I actually the first episode didn't solidly hook me, but by the time the second episode wrapped, I was like,
let's go. I did have some chance to do a couple things. I've read a little bit of Invincible. I'm about a third of what we need to read. I forgot, but once you get to there, they go to a college to do a viewing because they're high schoolers. And one of the college students, I forgot, but his name is Rick Sheridan. Kirkman
nice.
Was like, ooh, fun cameo for the 3 people that have read Sleepwalk. Ooh.
Yeah, all 3 of us.
We're like, whoa! But yeah, I've been reading that, and that's been pretty fun. I think I'm just about to the point where the first season kind of ends. Because there's a lot to Invincible. But they do what?
We probably reading the 2 seasons were?
Probably 3.
3, okay.
If they, at least with the pacing they did, I feel like they have enough for 8 seasons of content.
Oh, wow.
For Invincible. But they also do change a lot of the pacing and the order of things.
Yeah.
The big event in Invincible that kind of starts everything off is at the end of episode 1, I think, in the show, but it doesn't happen until I think it was issue 8. It definitely takes a bit. And then it's surprise! Mario Kart's here! Speaking of Mario, go see the Mario movie today!
Is it out today?
Well, it'll be out today when it comes, it'll be out tomorrow, but today for the people watching. It looks fucking
I
ass.
was about to bail on this podcast.
Are you gonna go see it?
No.
It looks...
I mean...
It looks shit.
Yes,
I
agree.
Honestly, I see so many movies and I'm like, yeah, I'm excited to see this. I'm not excited at all to go see that.
No.
And it's not even doesn't even look bad. It just looks like I'm going to be bored out of my fucking mind. I'm going to be in a theater full of kids going, ah!
I think it looks bad in the sense of it seems like they just put minimal effort into the whole ordeal.
An Illumination movie?
And I know, shocking, but and it's man, there's so much stuff that they could have done with it. I think a Mario movie has legit potential to be a fun time. Mm-hmm. But they're never gonna fucking do it.
But I also watched a couple of things. We watched 21 Jump Street.
The movies or the show?
The movie. I watched that for the first time. Bad. Wasn't a fan.
I was never super into it. I never even watched the original series though either, and I don't think that.
I think most of the people that watch the movies have not seen, or they didn't even know it was a show originally.
Yeah, Johnny Depp
he has a cameo.
She's like, "Who the fuck is that?"
Yeah. I think in general it's pretty bad. I think there's some very funny moments on it, but the rest is bad. I'm also just not really interested in most cop movies.
Yeah.
Especially cop comedies about them being terrible. I'm okay. It's just not really my jam.
Yeah.
It was bad, but it was fine. It was watchable. I watched Batman: The Doom That Came to Gotham, which is an older, I think it's about 20 years old now. They did an Elseworld story. Mike Mignola did it, the Hellboy guy. Mm-hmm. It's 1920s, Gotham, and it's Cthulian. It was also bad, mostly because Same thing when we talked about Justice League The New Frontier. I think that was last week I watched that, or 2 weeks ago. And I was like, it's like an interesting world, but they're so wrapped up in this like big bad.
Well,
but what's more interesting is just all the like pieces that are. It's actually the opposite in this one. Is like I think the Cthulhu monster is relatively interesting, and Batman like trying to deduce this stuff, but then they're like, but we need to add. Ooh, look, it's Poison Ivy in Steampunk Town, or it's and it's like no, we don't need this. Actually, I just want to see Batman.
Yeah, no, I feel that because I mean, at his core, he is a detective, and I mean, the original Call of Cthulhu is like a kind of noir story. It's about a guy trying to figure out what the fuck is going on.
Yeah. So it's just another of those like hour and a half animated movies that has way too much going on, doesn't have nearly enough time spent to do that.
I feel that.
And then I went and saw Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, and it was middling.
Oh,
it was fine.
Yeah.
I don't think it was very funny. I really like those directors. Their previous movie was Game Night. I thought Game Night was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that one.
I remember working that.
Yeah, I think you were working.
Right?
I think Jason Bateman. Yeah,
it's the one where it's. I don't know.
They have like a board game night, and it's like, oh, it's gonna be a murder mystery, and oh, I'm gonna get kidnapped, but then they like actually get kidnapped.
Yes.
In general, I think it's really funny, and I think the script's like really just tight and fun. Mm-hmm. They wrote this script though, and I just think they're better directors than they are writers. So I think the direction in D&D is great. I think it's really cool. I think most of them like visual style is awesome. And I think everyone's having a lot of fun. I love Hugh Grant as the villain, but it's like a really generic D&D story. And I think the world of D&D, it's generic for a purpose so that people can jump into it. But so making a D&D movie, it's just going to kind of be bland because like the thing is D&D is such a personal game, and things depending on your DM will be so different from other people's games, just like all RPGs. So it's like it's kind of impossible to make one that like feels like D&D to everyone.
Yeah, because I mean that's like 10 times the challenge that the average video game adaptation has, because the whole side of video games is the fact that it's like, your own sort of involvement in it, and that's like specifically what D&D hinges upon. So yeah,
that's why I haven't seen it, and it's probably not very good, but I feel like I'd be more engaged with like The Last Witch Hunter, which is that Vin Diesel movie that is not a D&D movie, but he pretty much made it about his D&D character. Because at least that's like, cool, that is unique to his experience in D&D. So at least it has a little more to grasp onto.
And shit, yeah.
So like, I thought it was fine. Hinata and Pierre really enjoyed it. I'm like, cool. I'm just a hater.
I feel it. I'm also a hater at heart.
But I have been trying to get Hinata into Gundam. Not really working, but we watched the first 2 Origin movies, and she thought they were okay. But I fucking love them.
Watch her get into something that's like not UC.
Well, I think I can. I haven't watched it, but Iron-Blooded Orphans is probably going to be the way to get her into it because Johnny Young Bosch plays one of the main characters.
There you go.
But yeah, I think those Origin movies are awesome. And that second one, I think is the worst. And there's that really weird stuff with Castle and Sharp. But I think what's there, like the character work they're doing, is awesome. It's just also really dumb what they're doing.
No, I feel it.
And I think if that movie, they get longer as they go, but I really think that movie needed to be longer. Like with what they're doing with that dynamic between the two and like building up like this burning rage. Like that one, if that was an hour and a half, I could see it being much better. I still think it's really good. I just think it's the weakest of the 6.
Yeah, I only ever watched part of it, but when it was still being like aired, but they recut the movies into like a 12 episode anime or something. I'm not sure if it adds anything, or
I think they add a couple things here and there, but they also trim some stuff too.
And I know that they rearranged some stuff because like I was watching into it and I was like, I remember specifically the colony being sent to Earth happening like way earlier than I had remembered it happening in the movie sequences. So I was like, I'm on like movie 2's content.
Yeah, the sequences are really strange. They do that with a lot of the Gundam movies. Like Unicorn was originally the 7 movies, and then they recut it into a show.
Oh, really?
Hathaway, they just did that. I think they made it a 6 or like a 4 episode mini, or they're doing that with a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, why?
And then they did the opposite with Thunderbolt, which was an OVA, got turned into 2 movies, but apparently the movies have added content into them, so it's like interesting.
Yeah, well, yeah, that
was from a different era, so that one's from like 2011 or so. So
I think Thunderbolt's like 2016.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
Oh, I thought it was a little older.
But yeah, they're all over the place. But man, they're good. But yeah, I think that first one's still awesome. Probably like my 3rd favorite of them. And the second one's the worst, but I still liked it a lot. I rewatched John Wick 4. Still just phenomenal. Really, really like that movie. I saw it with a couple of other friends, and they liked it as well. And then Regal, I was off yesterday because my boss is off on vacation, so I need to work other shifts. So I was off yesterday for the first time in a while. And Regal was they do mystery movies occasionally, which is like once a month. It's a movie that's not out yet. You can go see it for like $5. And I have unlimited, so I didn't pay anything. But we saw Mafia Mama with Toni Collette.
That's a movie?
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of that one.
Yeah, most people probably didn't hear about it. Nina was like, what the fuck is this? It's like a crime comedy about a woman whose like life has fallen apart and her estranged grandpa dies and she inherits the mafia pretty much. It's alright. It was better in the second half, for sure. And Toni Collette's great. She's, like, great in everything. So I was like, and she was having a blast. So I was like, I can't hate it, but it was just kind of weird. And it was also, like, for the audience the humor seemed to be targeting, it seemed like the movie itself was too brutal. Like, at one point, she stabs a guy's dick, and then eye, and then dick, and then eye, and then dick, and then eye. And it's relatively graphic. I'm like, what the fuck? And like 8 people left after this.
Nice.
The theater was packed. Like,
oh, really?
It was one of the big like seaters. It was probably like 150 seats, and I would say like it was like half full, which is really which is a lot.
Mystery movie.
Yeah. I guess it's Monday, 7 p.m. and it's $5 showing. So I'm like, there's a lot of old people that go to there apparently.
Yeah, I could see it. The old people always fill those seats when you least expect it.
Yeah, I was, because of my leg, I've been having to sit further up than I usually do. But so not a ton of people were in front of me, but still like 8 people left. Because, like, there was, like, a group with, like, a younger child. Like, this movie was rated R. Like, you could see that at the very least.
Yeah. Well, we paid our $5.
Like, I hope you didn't get a refund. Because, like, why?
Yeah.
It's so bizarre to me to walk out of a movie. I'm like, even though I don't pay, like, I get Regal Unlimited, I'm like, I could just not watch this. I'm like, I've already sat down. I'm going to finish the movie.
I can only think of, like, twice I've ever walked out of a movie, and that was The Grinch, which I've told that story on the podcast. Probably
you were so scared.
Times. I was very scared, and I was very young.
You were a baby. Was it the baby Grinch part?
No, it was the part where he gets in the mailroom, and he gets in fucking Sydney's face, and he's like, the Grinch! And then I was just like, no! Don't kill me! And my parents were like, I was not calming down after. My parents were like, it's okay. And I was like, no! Green Jim Carrey, not okay.
That's what you were saying. Green Jim!
I was fully aware of who Jim Carrey was at that point. I had already seen Ace Ventura and The Mask. I wasn't that young. I would have...
Was this like a remake? Because you were, I think...
I would have been like 4 or 5. I
re-release? When did The Grinch come out? I thought it came out like 2000.
It came out like 2003, I think. I would have, if that were the case, I would have been like...
It came out in 2000.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was also a Christmas movie, so it could have theoretically
I would have been like 3 years old.
It could have been a re-release too, I guess. Maybe? No?
I don't think so, because I remember
Well, then especially 3-year-olds. I don't think anyone should be allowed to watch that.
No, but I remember being like, the Christmas like was coming up after we went and saw it, because I think it probably didn't come out in December, if I had to guess. It probably came out in the middle of the year, because...
It came out in November.
November?
You got a month.
Okay, but I...
to sit on the hatred.
But I remember being kind of bummed that I never got to finish the movie, so I remember that Christmas I got a VHS copy of that. Well, it might have been the next Christmas. I don't know if I can remember specifically, but I remember getting a copy of that and Cats and Dogs. Or Cats versus Dogs, whatever the fuck it's called. The Tobey Maguire one.
That movie had a budget of $120 million.
Yeah, that's...
John Wick 4 had a budget of $90 million.
Are you for real?
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense, because I mean, they did have like movies like that back then where they would just kind of throw money at,
or maybe $100 million. But yeah, no, John Wick 4. Well, the thing is, Chad Stileski. I don't know if you know this, but he was the stunt double during The Matrix for Keanu Reeves.
Oh, I didn't know that part, but I know he's been directing action movies for a handful of years now, so I'm sure he's probably got it down to pretty.
But he's also so good at shooting action because of that, because he's been the action before.
Absolutely.
And that's why that action's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Man, there's so many scenes in that movie that I'm like, I gotta show this to Thomas. So one day, when it comes to digital, I'll be like, you should watch the scene.
I'll probably check out scenes, but yeah, you said it's like 3 hours long.
It is.
Yeah, honestly, my interest was at like low percent.
That's fair.
For the first two, so it's just like, I'm just a hater.
But I think that's all I watched this week. I did buy that Criterion stuff, and great news, they double charged me.
Oh.
They refunded me, but I got 2 copies of everything.
Ooh.
So I got The Human Condition.
Very nice.
I got The Killing.
Very nice, very nice.
And I got Y Tu Mama Tambien.
Ooh.
Do you have any of these?
I have The Killing. That's the only...
Do you want the other 2?
I mean, if you're not being charged for them...
No, you can have them.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate this.
Yeah, I think it took... I was using my account that I don't keep money in, so it did, like, take, like, the courtesy fee out. Like, I lost, like, $15 on it. But, cool. And I can probably give this to someone, because this is one of my favorites. This is my favorite Kubrick.
I still need to watch that one. I bought... Because I...
Don't worry, it has Killer's Kiss on here.
Does it? I didn't realize that. I wonder if mine did. Because I bought mine a while ago.
Does it have the same cover, or is it...
It's the same cover, but I don't remember that sticker being on there.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped about this. Especially this...
Yeah, this is a nice set.
There's a... Slavoj Zizek is like a modern day philosopher that I follow. I like his stuff, and he has a good way of talking to, like, in layman's terms, and talking about, like, philosophy and political ramifications of, like, film and stuff in a way that is understandable by most people. He's not great all the time, but I do like most of what he says. And he has an interview on this one that I want to watch. And I think there's a short film on here called You Owe Me One, and it's by Carlos Cuarón. I don't know if that's his son or his brother or something, but I'm interested in that too. Also, I love they come with, like, physical, like, essays, they usually, and I like reading those too.
Oh, yeah.
There's something about, like, reading a physical essay that's just so much easier for me to, like, read.
No, I feel it. Yeah, Criterion's fucking based. They're like... obviously, there's a lot of people that have, like, kind of come along and started doing this, but I feel like they were, like, one of the early champions of just trying to preserve film and give them, like, good physical media sets as well, which is nice, because physical media sets, more often than not today, unless they're from, like, a company that specializes in buying the rights and doing a nice set, tend to be dog shit, so it's like, fuck. Go buy an average fucking Blu-ray from Walmart and you'll be very disappointed. But, yeah.
I'm really fucking pumped for A Human Condition. I'll probably wait a couple months and pick it for a deep dive, but...
Down.
Because I feel like I need to be in the mood to just cry.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be an intense one. Also a long one.
Yeah, I think they're all like over 3 hours, like barely over 3 hours, but they're all 3 hours.
I mean, down.
Yeah,
down.
I mean, we watched Satan Tango. I loved that, man. I thought it was great.
I'll eat fucking scenes from A Marriage for Breakfast, both of them.
Man, so. Yeah. I've been really meaning to rewatch the Bergman one. This is one of my favorites. Like, I think about that like weekly.
Yeah, no, like, because it's got so much fucking wisdom in there, even beyond just, like, the relationship stuff. Like, there's just, like, a lot about, like, satisfaction in life and, you know, just kind of, like, there's just a lot of really relatable and shit that just, like, touches the soul where it's like, what the fuck?
I think as we've done this podcast, our tastes have definitely changed, but also been, like, formed by the stuff we've and like molded by that. And I think really Bergman was that the first deep dive?
That was
and I really do think that Bergman and like Kurosawa and all those original deep dives really changed how we kind of looked at some of these movies.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because before then, I mean, I think like I was familiar with like auteurs, but it was a lot of like, you know, the fucking baby's first auteurs, like
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, Tarantino, Martin Scorsese. Yeah. Like those kind of...
No hate to them, but...
Yeah, like they make fucking quality film.
But they would also probably be like, you should go watch some Bergman.
Yes, no, absolutely. Fucking Tarantino would probably shoot you if you thought about not watching Bergman. Actually, I don't know if... I'm sure he probably really likes Bergman. He strikes me as more of a Kurosawa guy.
The thing about Tarantino fans is they probably would hate most of the movies he likes.
Most of them, yes.
Yeah, not everyone, but I mean, like, when I say Tarantino fans, I mean people that are like, I love like, that's their personality. Same thing with, like, Snyder Bros. Like, you can like Zack Snyder movies and have good taste in other things. But if you're like, I'm a Snyder bro, bring back the Snyderverse. If you're saying that shit, you're probably not liking the same movies he likes either.
Probably not.
Because like Zack Snyder, I do not think he's very good at making movies. I'm not a fan of I like his Dawn of the Dead remake.
I like his Dawn of the Dead remake. I
thought Sucker Punch was okay when I watched it when I was a child. I
remember liking his Watchmen adaptation when I was like 12. I don't think I would like it now. But, his 300 adaptation, I've never read the comic, but it seemed alright. Like,
I got in kind of like a Twitter fight with some Snyder. I'm like, somebody was like, Batman vs. Superman is the greatest script to ever be in a comic book movie. I'm like, well, that's not like a incredibly high bar, but it's also just completely false. In fact, I would say it's maybe one of the worst scripts I've ever seen. I think that script is so atrocious.
Here is what I will say about it. It's bad, but it's...
I do not think it's the worst part of that movie, but it certainly doesn't help it.
It's like...
Maybe I'd feel different with the shorter cut.
It's not... I was going to call it memorably bad, but it's got some memorable moments like, Martha, what'd you say? Martha? Like, shit like that, but for the most part, it's just like... It's just a failed fucking... They tried to do an entire fucking Marvel phase in one movie.
I just don't like how they write Batman or Superman.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm not a big fan of the fucking edgy, I'm a fucking martyr for humanity, Superman, and everyone fears me. Like, I hate evil Superman shit. Like,
and I know that's not what they're doing in the movie, but it's just like...
Well...
The outlook of the movie is just... too...
It just doesn't match what I like from the character.
Yeah.
And, you know, I feel like all too often in the comic and movie industry, I mean, obviously it's hard to, like, make a definitive movie that's going to encompass what, like, everybody likes.
Superman Returns.
Superman Returns. I feel like the original Christopher Reeve Superman did it at the time. I feel like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, even though a lot of haters kind of popped up over the years, those Those were extremely solid and true to the character and spirit of Spider-Man.
Yeah, the spirit, but also what's so awesome about the Raimi trilogy is just how much
they're good.
Personality is injected into that. You know?
Absolutely.
Like it's like the Zack Snyder movies. They're bland and
sepia
ugly,
toned or
and
gray.
It's just like
even the fucking color version of the movie is fucking dark and dreary, and it's just like...
And it's like, yeah, I get it's thematically relevant, but your themes are fucking so childish that I don't really want to even engage with it. I know superhero movies in general are kids' movies. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it's just like... it just feels like I'm being talked down to when I experience a Zack Snyder movie. Like...
Yeah.
And maybe the, like, so hammered in, like, ethos of his scripts is what people like. That's fine if you want to be, like, explained your morals of your characters that blatantly. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need that. Or I need a little something else, too.
Yeah. No.
And, maybe I'll rewatch Batman vs. Superman and be like, I completely missed this, maybe. I doubt it, but I think there's always hope for things. No, I don't. Yeah.
Because, his stuff just reminds me, it's like, of an edgy teenager who's like, I'm writing something that's going to be so good because it's so dark and so depressing. But it'll, like, come around at the last moment, and that'll make it good. Because it'll be inspirational. And it's like,
Speaking of Superman, though, I've been reading the new Joshua Williamson run of Superman, and I think that's been really good so far.
Yeah.
It's only 2 issues in, but I think he's really getting what I like about Superman. I think
it's supposed to be like 10-ish?
No, that's Superman Lost. That's 10 issues. This one's an ongoing. I don't know how long it's going to be. The last Superman run was 30 issues.
Yeah, probably somewhere in that ballpark.
Action Comics is like 1054.
Oh, okay.
But
they just haven't had a new number 1 in a while.
Ever. Well, so what Action Comics did, what DC did is
do they do that thing where they have a number 1 and then they eventually just revert to whatever number it would be?
Yeah, well, and they just stopped going to number 1 for Action Comics. When they did, like, Rebirth or New 52, I can't remember which one, they were like, okay, new series, number 1. And then eventually it's like, people aren't reading this. Let's just go back to 850 or whatever it would have been, the legacy number.
Yeah.
Because it's not like they really rebooted the character that much, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, Dawn of DC stuff in general has been pretty interesting. Joshua Williamson's also doing a 5-issue Green Arrow run that I'm excited for. They're doing a Superboy run. They're doing a Steel run. They're doing an Adventures of Jonathan Kent run right now where he has to go try to fight Ultraman, which is the, like, Injustice Superman, which is evil Superman. But I really like the characterization of John Kent in it at the very least, so...
Yeah. Do they usually have this many? I mean, I realize Superman is like one of the Titans or whatever, but...
I feel like there's usually 3 or 4 Superman titles running at the same time. There's usually Action Comics, and there's usually a self-titled Superman run. And or if there's not, there's another one coming in like a year. There's usually a John Kent one. At least there has been for a while, since Son of Kal-El. And they might have a mini going on, but Batman Superman's been happening a lot lately. But this is a lot more than it usually is, yeah. I think they're trying to revitalize... I think they try to revitalize Superman as a character every once in a while, because Superman's, like, kind of died off because people...
Just the perception.
Yeah, the perception is like, he's a boring character. And I had that same perception when I started reading Superman and watching Superman media. I'm like...
Yeah, when he's
he's great. Yeah. He's so good.
Yeah, no, he's the hero that we all fucking need. He's an inspiration. That's his whole fucking gimmick, is that not that he is like all these superpowers, but that he has all these superpowers, but he's still so human.
Season 3 of Superman and Lois is 3 episodes in, by the way.
Yeah, how is it?
I think the guy who replaced Jonathan Kent, he's kind of struggling, but I think he's kind of getting it down. I'm getting used to it, but in general, I think the season's gearing up to be something pretty interesting. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. But in general, I think that show's kind of awesome.
Yeah, I really like what I've seen of it.
And I think that is what I've done this week. Yeah. I don't think we have any questions. I checked like 20 minutes ago, but let's go.
Woo!
No questions from here.
It's fine. We're probably going to be a long time talking about Gundam.
Yeah, let's talk about Zeta Gundam with Camille Badan.
Yeah, Camille.
I cannot believe in you. So I think since Mobile Suit Gundam, I watched it for the first time a couple years ago. I think I would say that it's probably my favorite anime series. I loved it that much. I think I no longer believe that. I loved Zeta Gundam. I don't know how you're gonna feel, because we talked about it, and you're like, I don't know, I feel about like the space ghost stuff and the more mysticism era.
Talked about
and I'm
it
like,
into the, yeah,
and I'm like, I don't know if you're gonna like Zeta Gundam, and it does get pretty.
Okay. I mean, do you want to dive into that section?
We can dive in whatever. I'm just saying these are my first thoughts.
Okay. I liked that aspect of the series. I thought it matched what had previously been established in the original Gundam.
Okay.
It made sense to me. Obviously, they took it a little further this time, but it happened in a way where I was okay with it. And there is sort of a caveat, because it's like, because you have the question of like, oh shit, like, how fucking powerful would like fucking Camille be at this point? But then obviously,
yeah, no,
but obviously that's not. It seemed like that was due to Capricorn. I don't. What was it? Shirako.
Capricorn.
I don't.
Cereal head.
Because of Shirako fucking doing his shit, but. Yeah, fucking. I was okay with it. The whole time I was like, where are these fucking Angels of Death? I'm assuming that's a double Zeta thing.
The Angels of the Death God thing in MS Igloo is not in anything else from what I've seen.
Oh,
I think that's
good.
I think that's like a concept that they do mostly as like a thematic agent to like, kind of explore things.
I was going to say... I
don't think it, like, is the worst idea.
I could see it. I don't like the imagery of, like, the generic angel kind of a thing, but, like, whatever, I could get past it. But, yeah, in terms of, like, a sort of death-like figure, I mean, there's obviously some spiritualistic fucking shit in Gundam, so it's like...
There's a lot in this. And it is...
Yeah.
I think the kind of mind powers and space magic element, it just gets... more and more as they go on. I think you said you were fine with it in this one, or you liked it. I do think eventually you'll hit a breaking point. I don't know if I will, but I know it gets... Maybe. It becomes a lot. Pierre was telling me about what happens in, like, Unicorn.
Well, we'll see how I feel about it, because... I mean, it's kind of like Dune. Like, Dune starts off, like, as this grounded political drama, and then it just starts getting into the weird space shit gradually, and then kind of more rapidly as it goes along. So, as long as it's, like...
Yeah, what's actually interesting is, like...
well executed, I'll probably enjoy it.
There are a lot of parallels between, like, people make between Star Wars and Gundam, and, that's obvious. But what's more interesting is how similar Dune and Gundam are.
Well, yeah, I'm sure Dune was probably a huge inspiration for Gundam, because, I mean, Dune's the best-selling sci-fi novel of all time, came out, like, a decade before fucking Gundam did, roughly, so it's like... Dune came out in the, 60s?
Let me check.
So, I mean, maybe closer to 20 years, depending on, like, what point in the 60s.
Yeah, 65.
Oh, yeah, so about, 14 years, so... But, yeah, so I'm sure it had, a certain level of inspiration, because, I mean, Dune, it's the fucking... It's what... It did what Star Wars did to film, but for just sci-fi in general.
For nerds.
Yeah, so it was just like, oh, fuck. This is what shit can be like? Sign me up. Ecosystems in my sci-fi? What? Planets could have their own ecology? Which is a big, theme in Gundam, because, one of the things that really hooked me about Gundam origin that I was kind of sad didn't get explored as much in the 79 One Year War series was the concept of Earthism, because I think that's like a hella cool concept for the world of Gundam, and it makes a lot of sense given their position. Mm-hmm. So it's like, and I'm glad that this kind of it started to explore it more, and it's like
I've heard Double Zeta is pretty rocky.
Yeah, I've heard.
Mostly because I think, from what I've heard, the first half is like kind of like a lighthearted comedy, and then it really just fucking goes down into the depths of hell.
Oh, okay.
Which actually I might like.
Yeah, I'm open to it. Like I'm sure I'll probably get.
I think the Pat Labor OVAs do the same thing.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Especially into the movies. And that second movie, I've been meaning to watch that one.
Yeah, I want to rewatch all of Pat Labor, including the part that I didn't watch, which is the actual fucking full series.
Yeah, I've been thinking about picking that, because that's like 50 episodes too.
Yeah.
We're just gonna switch to an anime. No. But I feel like I've been really into anime lately.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm down for a light anime era here or there, so...
We're gonna do Gundam all year long! Every Gundam!
Oh, we would run out quick, but... There's not... In terms of, like...
We'd run out of UC in, like, 8 episodes, but then there'd be, like... I think we could probably make it to the end of the year.
Really?
With just Gundam content.
I mean, I guess if we went and hit all the corners, like the Gundam builders and the fucking, like, shit like that.
There's so many Gundam series.
Maybe I'm just under... Because I looked a couple years ago and
Well, there's the big ones that are like 50 episodes, but then there'd be like episodes where we'd be like, we're going to cover this. Maybe like 8th the Mess Team is like 5 hours. War in the Pocket's like 3. Iron-Blooded Orphans is 2 seasons.
Did we do that on the... Not Iron...
we didn't do War in the Pocket, which I do probably want to cover one day, because that is incredible.
I think we both watched it around the same time and probably talked lightly about it.
But yeah, Zeta Gundam kind of just blew me away. I was pretty pumped in general, but man. And the thing is, I fucking love 80s anime.
Oh, yeah.
I love the texture. I love the slidiness. I love the dubs.
I had a bit of a TNG moment with fucking the animation at first, because I was like... Because I had never seen any of Zeta. I had like... I knew Char had cool sunglasses, but that was about the extent of what I knew. And I knew that, like, what the character designs looked like based off, like, the box art and stuff. Mm-hmm. But, like, so going in, I was like, this is, like, it's gonna have, like, sleeker anime, like, from the 80s animation, and it's gonna be, like, sick. And then it was, like, the same shit, it is slightly better. It is slightly better, specifically when it comes to, like, the Gundams and stuff. But the human scenes are more or less pretty much on par with what they were in the 79 series. So it was like, oh, okay. So, because TNG's kind of the same way, because you start the next generation of Star Trek, and it's like...
This will be the next generation of filmmaking. Because
everyone's like, TNG's great, and they got, like, better costumes and ways of filming it, and it's like... But you start with the first season, and Gene Roddenberry's, like, the main showrunner, and they're literally using 60s scripts, and it looks exactly like the 60s show. So it's just like, what the fuck? But yeah. Anyway, back to Zeta Gundam.
But I do think it looks better. Yes. But I also really like the aesthetic of the 79 show.
Oh, absolutely.
And I love the look of that. I just, there's something... I was talking to Pierre about this, and I don't think it's impossible to recreate it, but I do think that switch to digital animation in most anime studios, you kind of lose a bit of that human touch. And I think it's especially prevalent when early digital animation.
Oh, yeah.
I think now people have gotten used to it enough that you can add a personal flair. Not you always.
Yeah. I was going to say, we still live in an era where a lot of people just do, like, the basics.
Yeah, I think a lot of shonens just feel like they're made... like they don't feel
the thing
like they have a ton of personality to them.
Yeah, the thing with a lot of shonens is like It kind of depends on which one, because a lot of shonens have switched to being seasonal shows as opposed to like weekly run shows. But a lot of those like weekly run shows, like One Piece, for example, for a long time, One Piece and Dragon Ball were the series where it's like, all right, we're gonna get in a lot of like the rookies who are gonna like just churn out like a lot of work.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of like kind of sloppy in between and stuff like that.
It's the same way in like comics, like the house style for a lot of, you know, the big wigs, they don't look as good as minis because the minis have just like artists that are like, I want to make this. Well, I was like, hey, you want to go draw Spider-Man for 80 issues? No!
Right.
I want to draw it for 5!
No, exactly. Maybe 10 if we're pushing it.
Yeah.
I'd love to tell a 10-issue story, but I sure don't want to draw it.
But yeah, back to Zeta.
Yes.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with everything. I think most of the characters... I think most anime fans... I was watching it on a website, and on the website there was a comment section for every episode. And, for a show that is so obviously talking about the mistreatment of women and the use of them by manipulation, and the tragedy that a lot of them never get to get out of like an iron thumb, comments really fucking hated women.
Yeah. And
I get that some of the women are written in a way that's like, no, you constantly are making the wrong decision. But it's like, the guy's brainwashing people.
Yeah.
Obviously, too. Yeah. And it's like, with, Rekawa.
Yeah, Rekawa is the big
That's example. The big one. She leaves, she, goes to the Titans maybe like halfway through the series, or like around episode 30. It's like, in the latter half, I can't remember when.
It's in like the last like 15 or so episodes. Okay. And
she never returns. No. But she does, like, there are scenes where she's breaking down. She's like, why can't I leave? And it's like, fucking Rekawa, she's a bitch. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
The thing about it is it never, like, it doesn't have that scene that explicitly goes, I have hypnotized Rekawa. So a lot of people who just don't pay enough attention miss the scene where, like, he initially, like, embraces her, and lines where he's like, oh, she's exactly my type, kind of referring to her disposition in life. Because a big part of Rekawa's character that she talks about, she, you know, grew up in sort of a war setting, so she's always like kind of chasing and exciting things. That's why she's into espionage missions and men like Char. But then she has the one encounter with fucking Turkentine or whatever his name is. What's his name?
Shirako.
Turkentine? I don't know. He's got a weird name. But yeah. Shirako, right?
Shirako.
Okay. But yeah, so, she has that one scene with him, and then she just, for like 2 episodes, is like, what the fuck is happening to me? Like, something is clearly wrong with me.
She's like, I gotta leave, and it's just, I was disappointed in people when I was reading these comments. Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
I also saw a similar, because I was just looking at like a general series review, and someone was like, I really don't like Jared's character because he made fun of Camille after he like killed his parents and wasn't very sorry about it. And it's like, yeah, that's because Jared is a piece of shit character.
What I was actually like really surprised. I'm like, this is awesome. Jared's a dickhead, and he stays a dickhead. Like, they give him humanization, though. They do humanize him. Like, he has friends. He has loved ones. He loses people, but he doesn't get better. I'm like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Especially for a show targeted towards children to make money. Yeah. It's like, this show has such an engaging and interesting, like pathos. Like, when you're talking about how people feel their emotions and how they dictate their decisions, and this emotionally driven connection that eventually wins the war. Like, it's like Camille's fucking raw emotion and his care for other people Camille's an insanely good character, by the way.
Yeah.
I was, I was like, I'm like, that's insane. Camille's awesome. And then he gets fucking mind crushed at that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy fuck. And it's so sad. I was like on the verge of tears. And I watched it last night. And then I just laid in my bed for like 2 hours before going to sleep.
Yeah, I can see why. Because that scene fucked me up.
What I was going to say,
I think
about the releases. So when this first came out, this ended. And then a week later, Double Zeta started. So they didn't have to wait a ton for, like, continuation of the story. But when we got it over here, Double Zeta never came over here.
Mm.
So people that watch Zeta were just like, oh. And I do think it's a horrifying ending, but I think it's really fitting for the story. It's so angry. The story's so angry and, like... Tomino, in general, when he was writing this, he does not like Zeta. He thinks that the best ending is just the end of Mobile Suit. Like,
I can see why.
But he does like making Gundam, and he's proud of his other works after that, but like...
Yeah.
But I think that's why Zeta works so well, is because he pretty much did it for a paycheck. Like, which is understandable, but he put all that anger straight into that script, and that's why it's brutal. Like, I think the first Gundam does have brutal moments. The ending's pretty melancholy. This ending's just fucking devastating.
Yeah.
Char doesn't die, but people watching Zeta are like, they might be dead. Like, you see his, the fucking, I can't remember what his,
Lieutenant Quattro.
I was gonna say, I don't remember what his mobile suit's called. His golden boy. But it's just like floating by. But, a lot of people die. Fa survives, but like Emma dies?
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, when Emma died, that kind of got me.
Kots died. Like, and I know a lot of people don't like Kots, but I think Kots is annoying, but I think Kots is a really good example of putting, like, an engaging character. Like, I think Kots has very, very similar, like, sentimentalities and, like, ideas to Camille. But the thing is, Kots sucks. Like, Kots can't do anything about it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's an interesting thing to put in the anime, I
agree. I think my main issue with Kots, and this extended over to Fa a little bit, too. But, like...
I think Fa's actually similar, because... except Fa's interesting because she starts as kind of a figurehead that Camille kind of circles around, because she's not necessarily his mother, they're friends, but he's like, she's acting like mother, and she is a lot more mature. And then suddenly Camille just becomes, like, way too mature for his age.
Yes. But yeah, the thing that mainly kind of got to me with them is, I don't know, I felt like I was watching like the same kind of arc play out again and again, where it's like, I have to go save Sarah or avenge Sarah! And it's like, dude, you just did this in the last episode. And it even got to the point where like Bright in the like final 3 episodes is like, we're gonna have to correct them when they come back. It's like, why didn't you do that like 5 episodes ago? Well,
and it's interesting. I actually think Bright, he's not as prominent, I guess, in this one as he is in the original.
Definitely.
But he has some interesting ideas in this, because I feel like a lot of the time he's like super concerned with people's well-beings, like, because he wasn't a kid in Mobile Suit Gundam, but he was like 20.
Yeah,
he was like 21, 19, like, and now he's almost 30, but he was like there. He sees that, and especially because in the last 8 years or 7 years, it's just like, we had a little bit of child warfare in the first war. What if we have all child warfare?
Pretty much.
So I think he's like really trying to let these people get to their own decision, like their own conclusions, and make these mistakes. And I get that. And I get that it's also a war zone, but it's also a show. So I don't and I think Kots as a character is annoying, but it's annoying in a way that I think is a good exploration of the script's ideas.
I agree.
I also think that...
I just thought it was too...
Yeah. I think that they repeat their same character arcs because they cannot get through it, and I think that's also an interesting idea. Like, for instance, Camille loses a lot of people, even early, like 4, who he immediately has, like, a psychic connection with. And they talk about Lala Soon a lot, which is the one that, the girl, the new type that, Char and Amuro lost.
Yeah.
And how Amuro took, like, 7 years to get over it. And Camille, like, seemingly is just not just like that, but he's definitely putting in the work. And Kotz and Fa, like, aren't able to do these same things. And I think that's also a good example of, like, that is what a child would do. Like, Fa and Kotz, they're not getting through this because they're children. They can't process their emotions. They're doing these same mistakes over and over again. So yeah, it's annoying to watch, but I think it's also pretty accurate for what a child would do in this situation.
Yeah.
And I also think it would be less annoying, like, I do think when you watch a long-running show like this, you do have to think about it in the fact that, like, you would be watching this weekly. Well,
at one point in history.
Yes. I think they also paced it in a way that it is maybe better with splits in certain spots.
I definitely think that this series would have been a little... Not to say that I didn't thoroughly enjoy it, because I did, but I did. I think I probably would have benefited from some extra spacing, because, yeah, I crammed a lot in a short amount of time, so I was just like, oh! I had no time to cope or process. I was in the mobile suit myself. Gotta get through the battle. Can't cry about it.
Oh, there's this, I can't remember the little kids' names. The 2 little kids.
Yeah, dude. I didn't like that in the OG series, and I admit these kids were slightly less annoying because there was less.
I thought they were actually kind of funny, but it was more like, I liked Bright. He's just like, why the fuck are they out here again?
Yeah.
It's like, I cannot leave this spot. I have to stay on the bridge. Why can you guys not take care of these 2 kids?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, where'd the gun
go? I was kind of hoping there would be like a Home Alone-esque episode where maybe like a secret invader is like on the ship and they're the only ones who know, and they like, no one will listen to them, so they just have to like use Haro to set traps or something.
But there's a scene where Fa and Kotz have to go to the brig, or like the prison part.
Yeah.
And they go with them. They're like, we want to stay with Fa. And they're like, okay, but be careful for the ghost. And they're like, there's no ghosts in space. I'm like, if Zeta Gundam has taught me anything, that's all that's in space. No. It's just ghosts. It's just children's dead bodies floating through space for all eternity, and their ghosts walking an endless plane of suffering.
Yeah, I forget who Camille said it to. I think it might have been Kotz. But he has a line where he's like, when you die, there's nothing! I'm like, you've talked to like at least 2 ghosts at this point. You know this isn't true. Why are you saying this? But yeah, it's...
But I think Camille's like a really well-written character. I was
agree.
Really surprised. But I also really like what they do with their legacy characters in this. I think Amuro's pretty interesting. Amuro's definitely like the least involved of the 3 because he's in maybe 15 of the episodes. But Char or Quattro, I was talking to Pierre, I think, because now I've seen Char's counterattack, and I've seen this, and I've seen the original, and I've seen Origin. I honestly think he's one of the most interesting characters I've seen in like anything. Like, I think he's incredible. Not just anime, like movies, television. He's such an interesting character. Mm-hmm. And he's so interesting in this because he's like really a completely different person. Yeah. But it seems like there are moments where he's really like he's holding back. Oh, and it really feels like in this one, he's lying to himself the entire time. Like, this is not who he is. But he's such, like, an empathetic man in this and like a teacher, and he's such a good teacher too. Mm-hmm. Like he's such a strong guide for Camille. Mm-hmm. Honestly, if my prodigy was in a final fight with me and then went insane, I might go fucking crazy and become evil again too.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Like, I think Char's just an incredible character.
Yeah, I agree. No.
I'm really, really excited to rewatch Char's Counterattack now that I have this context, because I watched it with no context for Gundam other than Dynasty Warriors Gundam 3, and I loved it. So I'm honestly like, am I gonna rewatch Char's Counterattack and be like, this is the greatest animated movie of all time?
I mean, maybe. I'm sure there's lots of Gundam fans who would say that, so I can't speak from experience.
I am riding the dick of Gundam so hard in this episode, but I really believe that this series is that good so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's top quality for sure. Like, at least specifically in terms of like the writing. Obviously, if I said top quality and some fucking asshole went and watched it, I was like, excuse me, that animation looked like third grader drew it or something.
It looks awesome, actually. Yeah. I love it. I love the way they draw space in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
It's colorful and bright, but it's also desolate. And I don't know. I was thinking back at Gunbuster. Gunbuster has such great space. I told Hinata I want to watch Gunbuster with her, because I think that one she might like. I think that might be her speed.
Yeah, Gunbuster's great. Fucking, I was specifically thinking because there was like one shot where it was like a bunch of like lights lighting up in a sky battle or something, and I got like an instant flashback to the last episode of Gunbuster, and I was like, fuck, watch that show.
Yeah, when she's like, oh, I'm gonna kill millions of things at once.
Yeah.
The escalation of that show is insane.
Yeah, it's 6 episodes, and it's so...
And the first episode is like, I'm in school, and I'm learning how to kick things. And then the 6th episode is like, I am the destroyer of all that you see and hold dear.
I will never get over the intro to Gunbuster, where they've just got their fucking mech suits like back there doing jumping jacks, jump ropes, and push-ups and shit. It's just like... Yeah, this is great.
Honestly, most mech animes that I've seen have a similar, like, vibe to them. I think, like, Evangelion also has kind of an escalating thing. I don't think this is as much, but also, I'm just not that big of a fan of Evangelion.
I need to rewatch it.
I think I do too. I remember liking it enough. I think End of Evangelion's great. I also think the last 2 episodes of Evangelion are great. Like, I think either end is pretty great.
Yeah.
I just think the first, like, yeah. Also, everything they do, all the, like, ideas that are in Evangelion, I really just think Gundam does better.
Yes, I have kind of come to that realization, specifically after this, because, I mean, the ending to this is very kind of close to... It's not quite there, but it's... They're kind of in the same ballpark. So
I also think Gunbuster does a lot of the ideas that they do in a fraction of the time and better.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I don't think Evangelion's bad. I just think they're... Have you ever seen Mobile Suit Gundam?
Have you ever seen Die Buster?
That's bad. That's really bad.
That's bad, but most people don't seem to think that for whatever reason, so I
thought it was, like, really bad. Like, it left a bad taste in my mouth.
I don't know if it was just because, like...
Maybe it was just because Gunbuster was so good and we went immediately into that, but I'm like, wow, that sucked.
Yeah, I just... I'll probably rewatch it one day. Just to see...
I'll dislike it even more.
I won't watch Gunbuster right before it. I'll save it as a palate cleanser in case I do think it's really bad. But, yeah. I also haven't watched the theatrical cut of Gunbuster, but it's like, what's the fucking...
You can watch the double feature theatrical cut where they did both of them, and they kind of cut it even more, and they packaged it in one.
Oh!
I think it's just called Gunbuster Die Buster.
Gross. Like, they're both in one movie, or it's like a double pack with each movie?
It's a double feature. It's 3 hours.
Okay.
In like 10 minutes. So I think they cut out maybe like 5 minutes, but it's called Gunbuster vs. Diebuster. Aim for the top, the Gata movie.
That sounds like the worst way to watch that because look what happened.
Honestly, the Gunbuster is so like well paced in my opinion. It's 6 episodes. It's like cool. I mean, you're gonna make it half the time. Like why?
I mean, you could just cut out the fucking openings and the outro music and just fucking paste it all together and it'd probably work fine. I mean, you might have a couple weird transition scenes, but you can fucking trim those up or whatever. But, yeah, fucking back to the Zeta, the series. So, okay, do you have any negatives or is it all positive?
I'm thinking like...
I've got one, but it's not like super big. It's not like something where I'm like, oh fuck, the show's broken. But like, I was just kind of like thinking about it and it's like comparing it to like what came before it. And it's like, And that's the Force stuff. I didn't think the Force stuff was super compelling and strong. I understand it functionally in the story and I get it, but like, it was that arc specifically was just a little too redundant of what came before, but it was less effective to me. And also it kind of also encompassed a lot of the same themes that were going on with all the other women that he was developing the same kind of relationship with. So
I think that for the Force stuff on its own is a weaker aspect, but I think it adds to this overall idea that I think is really good. I actually really like I think the Force stuff's fine, but I think the Rosemi stuff was really engaging. I think that's like super tied to the Force stuff, like, cause it seems like, I don't know if they were implying that cyber new types are taking like, because what I was thinking they were implying is they were taking like the remnants of 4's like false memories and just planting it in Rosemi because that was a cheaper and more like it was a faster option. Because cyber new types are horrifying because it's like, what if we genetically engineered children, or what if we took children, stole them, and put false memories in them? There's some fucked up shit with cyber new types.
Yes.
But yeah, that Rosemi stuff was... when I was like, what the fuck? What was this? And she's like, brother! I'm like, what the fuck's happening? But by then, I'm like, no, Rosemi!
Yeah, no, she was the one in... Like, if Camille could only save, like, the one from, like, the cyber new type section of the series, like, it's like, oh, fuck, please save your sister.
Yeah.
But
I think the Force stuff builds onto that really well, so I'm fine with it. And I do think, like...
Yeah. I think I would have been fine with the first arc, but, like, then they brought her back for, like, an episode, and I was just like, well, that seemed kind of weird.
And then they, like, definitely killed her. I actually, I think it works in the... I like it because they do reference her. Like, Camille is like... I wonder how 4's like, is 4 okay? And he keeps thinking he sees 4. So I think that build up into like, I finally got 4 back just for her to actually die in front of him, I think is strong enough emotional beat for me that I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I would say. But I get it. I think the Lala Soon stuff in the original is incredible. So yes. I think that the 4 stuff is probably a little less compelling, but that final stuff where it's like, man, and they literally spell out the stuff in the show a couple of times pretty effectively where they're like, yeah, a lot more women this time around.
Yes.
Wonder what that's about. It's like, huh. And it's like, oh, this man is just manipulating women for his advantage. I'm like, oh, wonder what this show's about. And it's like,
what is Far doing getting in the Mobile Suit Gundam pilot when she could be looking after those 2 children there?
And it's like, how do people miss the point of things so easily?
It's just like, yeah, I don't know.
That's also what I do appreciate about Zeta, though, is while I think it's easy to like understand what it's talking about.
I'm glad it doesn't fucking
it treats its audience like they're, like they're your peers. It's like, wow. Yeah. This is an animated show that it was aired for children, but obviously it's like, man,
it's not a
awesome.
smart move, but it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, this made a lot of, like, this popularized Gundam. He was like, if it wasn't, like, he said, I don't like Zeta, but I appreciate that it made me able to make more. Mm-hmm. Like, this was the thing. This was the big jumping off point for him. So.
Yeah.
So maybe people now are just stupid. No.
Perhaps.
And ugly. No. I hate you all. No. But God, Zeta's so good. I cannot, like, it's so good. And the thing is, I pretty much liked every character, or liked what they did for it. Like, Kot's annoying, but I liked it. Haro returns! But I think Haro's return is kind of funny, because he's just like, la 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 la, and then he's gone. Like, it doesn't over.
And you have one kind of ominously sad, melancholic line from Bright where he's like, oh, Haro. Oh, it's probably not the same one. They designed a bunch of them, and they all know, like, the white base crew's name programmed into them. And it's like, wow, like, that's
capitalizing
like,
on children's death.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's,
But it's also just kind of sad, because it's also, like, that weird kind of... See, I like this series, because it does have, like, nostalgic, but it's like nostalgic where...
But it's also spitting in your face. Like, we spit in the face of nostalgia.
Yeah, instead of being like, oh, yeah, this sweet nostalgia that I remember and loved, it's like, you're like, oh, man, I used to love that thing. And you go to, like, check it back out, and you're like, oh, God, no, why? Why has this happened? But it's like, yeah, I don't know. Fucking Zeta Gundam is very good. I think... Currently, as it stands, I still like the original series just a hair more, but that's also just due to the fact that, like, it kind of took me... I've had, like, an ongoing relationship with the original series and, like, the origins, like, since high school, because I was slowly kind of working my way through it and stuff, so, like, I find, like, the politics of the world to be generally maybe a little more interesting... in the 1 Year War as opposed to this one. I think they definitely... I think, like, there are added benefits. It's, like, to this one, like, there are definitely things that it does better.
Yeah, I don't know which, like, political struggle I find more engaging, but I think both are, like, really smart with how they write it.
Absolutely.
But I really like this one because I really like the ramifications of such a big war. So I really like, 8 years later, 7 years later, how much things have changed. So I'm a fan of that quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I get it. I also really do think Amuro and Char are, like, such an incredible rivalry. Yes. So there is that. Now, you don't get the same thing with, like, Jared. No. But Jared is he's a fun villain,
I think that's that also gets into another thing. For a decent stretch through the middle, I wasn't quite sure how I felt about the Jared stuff. It wasn't until I got that kind of, like, final thematic, like, line from Camille where he's like, it's because of people like you that this war has to keep going on and shit like that. And I was like, But, before that, it was like, because I wasn't quite sure where they were trying to go with his character. I was expecting him to maybe be built up to be, like, the ultimate rival instead of the more pitiful one that just ends up getting fucking wiped eventually. But, because because it was like, he does all this, like, terrible stuff to Camille, and like, they're both involved.
Camille, that's a girl's name.
Right? In, like, cataclysmic events in each other's lives that just keep, progressing even further as the series goes along. But, like, every time they, like, kill someone near and dear to each other, it's, like, pretty far removed, and the characters stop referencing it as much as they, like, kind of mature. More so, Camille, but, like, I started to get sort of, like, almost a cartoonish level of camaraderie between their rivalry, like, almost like a Lupin Zenigata type thing where, I'm gonna get you, Camille! And it's like, oh, what the fuck is Jared doing here?
You were not a fan of that, or?
Well, I wasn't quite sure how I felt, because I wasn't sure where they were going with his character ultimately. I've come around to it, and I think I appreciate that about it now, but at the time I was like, what is this going to amount to?
Yeah, no, I get it.
I was so interested to see how it was going to pull together, because I thought
like 4 episodes before the end, I'm like, how are they going to pull? And they do. I think the last 4 are just astonishing.
Yeah. But yeah, fucking yeah. Oh man, I just wish. I'm sure I'll like Char's counterattack. I don't know how like girthy it is in terms of like its substance and shit, but it's like I really just want like an entire like 50 episode series that's dedicated to Char and him doing his shit, and it's like it's probably not gonna happen, but it'd be nice. I'm glad we got the origins though.
Yeah.
Imagine, like, I try to imagine a world where those don't exist, and it just makes me sad, and I'm glad they exist now. I
was reading a review because I don't think Tomino wrote the origin stuff, and I don't think some people don't consider it canon.
I think it's kind of like how the Evangelion manga worked, where like somebody else who was like a consultant or a staff member from the anime went off to like do the manga and ended up kind of adding their own little bits of lore and stuff in there. But like I think it's all because obviously it foreshadows shit from Zeta, and also it's like really good. Yeah. So
what I was reading a review of somebody was like, I like this show, but man, it just does not feel like Char to me. Like, I'm like, what? I think it's like really, really good at building up Char.
I agree. I guess you could maybe make an argument from like a point of view where you've watched like Zeta and fucking the original Gundam, and maybe you walk away from it thinking Char is a little bit better of a person than maybe you would have initially thought. But
Char's like,
he's charismatic.
He's charismatic, and he's like a bad guy, especially in the first one, but he's doing it too. He's legitimately trying to make the world a better place.
He's very much like an ends justify the means type character. And he's also born into just, that corrupt political hierarchy. He's very much like
a fucked individual from the beginning. He's like, I don't
At 8 years old, he's declaring war on the Zabi family or whatever. So it's like, he's voiced by Mayumi Tanaka in the sub version, which is the voice of Luffy. So I was like, Char and Luffy have the same fucking voice!
In
the origin stuff? Only the point where he's a little kid. And I didn't even notice until he started screaming at a fucking lady, what's her name? Cecilia?
Cecilia.
Because there's that scene where she like handcuffs him and she's like, I'm gonna make this power move against you. He's like, I am the son of Daiku and you cannot do this to me. And he starts screaming. I'm like, Luffy? What? But that's just me and my One Piece junkyism.
But yeah, I'm just trying to think. Is there anything I didn't like in this? I don't think so. And I really do think the escalation is like well done, and there's, even from the beginning, there's this like underlying hopelessness in there.
Oh yeah.
Like it's disguised with like funny moments, and like Camille going like, Camille's dub I really enjoy, and Pierre said the same thing, because it reminds me of episode 4 Luke Skywalker.
I can see it.
And that's what I think is so good about that. And I think Amuro is they get mature and they handle their business and they do what they think is right. But at the end of the day, they are still children. Mm-hmm. And I think what's cool about Gundam is everyone still acts like their age. Like, for the most part. At least in the day-to-day moments. Acts their age. Like, their characters act their age.
Oh, okay.
Like, the teenagers feel like teenagers.
I was going to say, I thought maybe you were trying to make a statement about how, like, you got the children at war, but how, like, war is kind of a childish mentality in the first place.
I mean, and that is also true.
Yeah. Because, it's given into a lot of, like, fucking mindsets that might be associated with a child, like selfishness or needing to be the one in charge is kind of like a fucking... I don't know. But, yeah. Zeta Gundam. Very good.
another scene that like broke my heart is when Rosemi is just kind of insane. Because her mind's broken from the beginning. But she goes down into one of the capsules with Camille, and they have their suits on. And she sees one of the little kids, and like a little kid on the ground. She's like, "Oh, my friend!" She runs up to him, and it's just a dead kid because they had gassed this capsule.
Oh yeah.
She's like, "What? Wake up!" And I'm like, "Holy fuck!" It's the same. There's in like the first 10 episodes, they go to like a ghost town where there's just a bunch of dead people lying in the streets.
Yeah, was that supposed to be? Fuck? I assume with added context that was not the colony from the first one, but I thought initially, because obviously they ended up saying it was they like because obviously Titan's gas colonies, but at first I was like, oh shit, is that the colony that like landed on Earth? Because I thought they might have gone there for a minute, but I don't think that worked out. But yeah, and it's like, how the fuck do you guys get away with this shit in like discreetness? Like, seems like nobody seems to fucking know about it yet. Obviously they kind of ramp it up towards the end of the series when they're intentionally going to colonies and gassing them real quick, and it's like, oh, that's so fucked up, dude. This is why we cannot go to space.
Well, no, we need to.
No, that only works in Earthism. I personally, as cool as I think Earthism is, my personal philosophy, I don't think we're meant to go out to space. And even if we could, like, is humans colonizing space really what the universe needs? Do we really need to bend the fabric of reality?
If we stayed in our own little capsules, it'd be fine.
Well, yeah, as long as we don't go out and... I want to get to that next star, but that'll take too long. Why don't we try to fold the fabric of space and time to our whim?
I think the philosophy of Gundam is like great.
Yes,
like the Xeon philosophy is really engaging and interesting. I don't know what I agree with. I think that the idea, like, because when you think about it, you know, we are expanding. Yeah. Like, even if we... like, are precious with our resources and our space, unless we put in, like, population control, we will eventually run out of room. And what do we do then? Do we go to space? Do we, like, expand? Or do we die, you know? But it's an interesting philosophy to talk about. And,
Oh, for sure.
And they're really well, like... expounded upon. Like, Tomino's smart. He's like a smart dude. I might start just reading some, like, I might go like so into Gundam this year.
Yeah.
I'm so thrilled with how much I enjoyed Zeta.
Yeah, Zeta was fucking good.
I'm trying to think of an anime that has been so compelling to me. Zeta's like, just wow. The last one was Mobile Suit Gundam. It's like, wow. 2 for 2.
Right? Fucking. That's why I'm really interested to check out Ideon, because it's like, I want to see what because that also looks like it's a space thing, but it's not attached to Gundam, so I'm interested to see kind of what he does with that one. I heard that one's also very depressing, so.
I don't know if that man knows how to make something that's not.
That's probably sadly true. He's still alive, right?
I believe so. Let's double check.
Fuck it. He should be. If he's not, I don't know who I need to talk to.
Yeah, he's 81, so I don't know.
Well, hopefully he's got a good, 40 years left.
Hopefully he lives to be 120.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If he can, that'd be great.
Yo, he was one of the writers on the 60s Astro Boy. He was the writer for Astro Boy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he must have been one of the showrunners.
He did a lot before Gundam too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Like he did a lot of writing and directing. Jesus, it's just, man, Space Runaway Ideon.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one it is. It's one of them though. And I don't know how the movies act in relation to the series, because I know the series is like 40 episodes, and I think there's like 2 or 3 movies, but I don't know if those are like...
I think they're...
compilations or rebuilds or what the fuck they're... connections, sequels. I don't know. I'll have to do some basic research before I ever...
It's a recap. They're recap movies.
Oh, recap movies.
Oh, I just... Yeah. What I'm also really interested... Have you heard of Mobile Suit Gundam F91?
Yeah. Isn't that like... I did at one point. That's not Universal Century, is it?
No, it is. It was supposed to be set 30 years after Char's counterattack. And it was supposed to be another, like, 50-episode thing, but just a bunch of, like, staff disputes, and the project was stopped. So it was like, you know what? We'll make it one movie. So they condensed 50 episodes, or what he wanted to do in 50 episodes, into 2 hours. And I've heard it's not great, but I'm really fascinated to see what he tried to do.
Yeah, interesting. Huh. Maybe if he had had a trilogy or something, he could have maybe pulled that off a little better, but... Huh.
But yeah, he did that after Char's counterattack, like a couple of years later.
Never too late. Maybe he can't specifically write it, but I mean, he can maybe be like a consultant or something for it.
Mobile Suit Victory Gundam.
Ah, yes. That's like the Shonen one, right?
Or
is that...
That's the final, I think pretty much the final part of the UC timeline. It's set in like 153. It's like 7 years later.
Way later.
The Shonen one is, you're probably thinking of...
it's not Wayne, is it?
Wing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's Gundam Wing. That was the one that was over here, it was Gundam Wing, and it was the Mobile Fighter Gundam G. That is the Battle Arena anime. It's just every country has their own mobile suit.
No.
And apparently it's pretty fun.
Huh.
It's a real departure, but...
Yeah.
I don't know if I have anything else to say about Zeta. I feel like I could talk about it forever, but I think I've made my case for why you should watch Zeta Gundam.
Yes.
Even though I've said what things happened, but...
It's still, I mean, even if you know what happens, it might help you out if you don't know how to, watch a show or something. Fucking, you'd be like, oh, I see what's happening here. Well, that's what London said.
Wait a minute. Now you two can critically analyze things.
Rekka was the one with red hair?
I think it's orange, but...
That's semantics.
Sarah! What a banger. 10 out of 10. I loved it. Thomas also loved it.
I did. I very much did. I didn't get a chance to fully say this earlier. I was kind of working my way there, but doing my typical stumble there.
Thomas, I'm stumbling and rumbling.
I think I still put 79 above it, but I could see with a rewatch and with some time to kind of stew on this one, I could easily see this one, well, maybe not easily surpassing 79, but I could see it. Perhaps surpassing 79.
I think 79 is incredible.
Yeah, they're both extremely good.
I just like it a little.
Yeah, they're both different too, but they're also similar. It's weird. It's a weird dichotomy, but...
Woo! Thomas, are you gonna break my heart?
Are you ready for it?
Yep.
We're gonna watch Murder Mystery 1 and Murder Mystery 2.
Oh my god, what the fuck?
No, I'm just fucking kidding. We're gonna watch Thunderbolt and the December Sky or whatever.
Woo!
The 2 Thunderbolt movies.
Woo! Woo! You really got me there. I was gonna punch you in the face. No.
It's like, what?
Oh.
I was just scrolling on my phone and I saw that on Letterboxd and I was like, I have to say that as a gag, so I screenshotted the Letterboxd page and made it my background here. So
I've heard that first movie is awesome.
The murder mystery?
No, I've seen Murder Mystery. It was bad. I meant
Thunderbolt?
Thunderbolt, yeah. And I've heard the second one is not awesome.
Yes! That's gonna be perfect!
Woo! More Gundam! And also Easy Gundam. Like, they're both an hour and like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I have to read Invincible this
Yeah,
week.
that's right.
Otherwise, I might have picked like War in the Pocket or like 83 or something like that.
War in the Pocket would be like 20 minutes more.
But
you already said...
I haven't seen Thunderbolt yet, so...
When does Thunderbolt take place?
I think it takes place, like...
Oh, during the 1 year war.
Yeah.
Sweet. Sweet, because the thing I'm going to pick next week is either going to be the thing Hinata wants me to pick or more Gundam.
Oh, yeah.
I told her we will eventually watch that.
Yeah, it might have to wait till the Gundam groove is over, though.
Yeah, and I told her, like, I don't know if I could, because if I stop it for that, I don't think we can get the groove back. That's going to destroy my groove. It's going to break me. It's going to be like the end of Zeta Gundam. I'm going to be like, la la la. Oh no, the door doesn't open.
It's just gonna be, fucking his face groovy, and it's just gonna fucking derail the whole thing. That's gonna be great. We stopped it for that. But I mean, I haven't watched those in a long time, so I don't know how I'll feel about them today. I'm hoping to at least still like the first one, but we'll see. I'm not gonna say what it is if you haven't figured it out based off of the light reference that I made of it, but. I live in a house that is between space and time. Fucking, I don't know if that's a TikTok or what. I've seen that just on my feed, and that gives me life. That's so great. Anyway,
yeah, I think what's interesting is I'm pretty sure they're. I was just looking. They are compilations, but I don't think they cut anything because, like, they were like 15 to 20 minute episodes.
Yeah,
each.
I was looking on Reddit because I was like, all right, is it missing anything? And the post I saw said that apparently the one movie adds like 20 minutes and the other one adds like 5. So apparently it's got additional content. So it seems like the movies are the definitive. I think the manga is probably the definitive, but I don't think we have the manga over here, so.
Maybe.
Because I did look, because I
kind of want to start collecting the Gundam manga now. I know we can get the origin ones, we can get, I think, like the original, we can get a couple, but there's a lot that are either just not available now or just never have been available.
Yeah. And
there's so much Gundam manga.
Yeah, there's a lot of it. And I was even looking at, like, my typical online manga scan site didn't have a whole lot. So it's like, I'm not saying it's not translated out there, but it might be a shoddy translation and you might need to dig for it. But yeah.
Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, because this is the most fun I've had talking about something in a while.
It's always great talking about Gundam. I
fucking loved it. You should watch it, and you should tune in next week for more fucking Gundam! Let's go!
I can't kick that.
I was about to start jumping up and down, and I'm like, wait, my foot's broken!
Yeah, probably.
I break my other foot! Alright, goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.